I returned home from a long hospital stay to find 105 people celebrating a housewarming in my own home. "We thought you'd die there," my sister-in-law said, lifting her glass. "We gave her your room." "Get out, and don't come back," said my mother, while my brother laughed. I checked my bank app balance, $0. "My car? Sold yesterday," I said. Didn't waste a minute, huh? Then I opened my backpack and pulled out 43 envelopes. I stood in the doorway like a stranger. My name was still on the lease, but the music, the laughter, the shoes piled in the hall, none of it belonged to me anymore. "Hey," I said, quieter than I meant to. No one turned. I took a step inside. That's when my sister-in-law spotted me. Well, she lifted her glass like we were at a toast. "The Lazarus returns." I didn't answer. "You weren't supposed to be back this early," she said, walking over in heels that clicked on my own tile floors. "Or at all, actually. We thought, the ICU? Most people don't walk out." My eyes moved past her. There were balloons. A cake. A giant silver "Welcome Home" banner hanging over the fireplace, not for me. A woman I didn't recognize waved at me from the couch and then looked confused when I didn't wave back. "We gave her your room." My mother's voice broke through the noise. She was in the kitchen, drinking wine from my mug. She didn't look at me when she said it. "Get out. And don't come back." My brother laughed. Not like it was a joke. More like he couldn't believe I'd actually shown up. I didn't move. Just pulled my phone from my pocket. Opened my bank app. Balance, $0. I checked the car out front. Gone. "Sold it yesterday," he added, not even bothering to meet my eyes. I closed the app. Let the silence settle. "Didn't waste a minute, huh?" I said, voice steady. Then I slipped my backpack off my shoulder. It landed on the floor with a dull thud, and I began pulling out the envelopes. One by one. 43 of them. It started like most things in my family, quietly exploitative. They never said they were taking over my life. They just moved into it, inch by inch, under the guise of helping me through recovery. My brother needed a place to crash, just until the baby comes. My sister-in-law brought her work-from-home setup, which somehow required the whole guest room. My mom said, "Don't worry, I'll handle things," then slowly took over my bills, my fridge, my meds. I was barely conscious through most of it. ICU, then recovery, then the quiet crawl of fatigue that doesn't show up in X-rays. I woke up each day unsure whether it was still Tuesday or already Sunday. I didn't remember agreeing to anything, but I never said no, either. That was always the opening they needed. By the second week, I started noticing things, how my mail was missing. My debit card wasn't where I left it. The grocery delivery was wrong, like someone had changed the list. My bedroom door had been opened and closed again while I was asleep. Once, I asked about the car. My mom said, "Oh, honey, it wasn't being used. Your brother needed to get to job interviews." Another time, I asked about my savings. She smiled without blinking. "It's not like you'll be working anytime soon." I should have yelled. I should have thrown them all out. But I didn't. Not after what happened before the hospital. See, I'd always been the fallback. The emergency contact. The cosigner. The couch to crash on. The soft landing when they burned every bridge behind them. They'd show up crying, broke, stranded, and I'd help. Because that's what you do, right? That's what family means. I helped my brother refinance after his second DUI. I let my mother use my name to upgrade her phone plan. I gave my sister-in-law a key just in case, even though she never once knocked before entering. They never said thank you. They said things like, "You're so stable," or "It's easy for you." As if my life was effortless. As if it wasn't being siphoned off slowly by people who called me selfish if I hesitated for even a second. Then came the hospital. It was a minor surgery. Routine. In and out, they said. But then there were complications. A reaction. An infection. ICU. Tubes. Silence. No visitors for 3 days, not one call. Not one person showed up. When I woke up, the first face I saw was a nurse. Not family. The first voice was hers. "You've got a long recovery ahead. Do you have anyone at home to help?" I laughed. It was bitter. Dry. I almost said, too many. I was released a week later. I took a cab home. Paid with my emergency card. Walked in the door and found my mother unpacking a box labeled "Fragile," while my brother set up his gaming chair in the living room. "Welcome back," they said in unison, like nothing was wrong. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, my meds kept running out early. My bedroom became a spare storage unit. My name got removed from the utility bills. And the worst part? Every time I tried to speak, they acted like I was being dramatic. You're still recovering, my mom said. Let us handle things. Just rest, my sister-in-law added. We've got it under control. Under control. Right. Then one night, I checked my accounts. Every last dollar, gone. They drained it. Used my cards, my savings, my tax refund. Even my emergency fund, the one with a password they shouldn't have known. They moved fast. Precise. Like they'd planned it. I called my bank. They said the transactions weren't flagged because they were all made on devices previously verified. I was in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines, and they were plotting. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat there, numb, while laughter echoed down the hall from the living room. Someone had ordered sushi. They didn't even ask if I wanted any. That was the moment it shifted. Not rage. Something deeper. I wasn't family to them anymore. I was infrastructure. A walking asset they'd hoped wouldn't walk back in. So when I did, and saw them raising glasses in my house, it all made sense. They had written me off. And I was done being their investment. I pulled out the 43rd envelope and set it on the table. They were all still looking at me like I'd grown another head. My mother's hand trembled slightly as she put down her wine glass. My brother stopped laughing. My sister-in-law took a slow, unconscious step back, as if I might detonate. You're being ridiculous, my mother said. She always reached for that first, tone policing, as if the tone was the crime. I didn't speak. Just unzipped the front pocket of my backpack and took out a voice recorder. Clicked it on. Set it on the table next to the stack of envelopes. My brother blinked. You're recording us? Not now, I said. Before. He shifted. What are you talking about? I pointed to the envelopes. That's every charge you made. Every account you accessed. Every message you sent using my name. There's enough evidence in that pile to shut down 4 credit lines, freeze 3 bank accounts, and report a felony. My mother's jaw clenched. This is family business. You don't bring in outsiders. I tilted my head. Then why did you open my business to half the city? Nobody spoke. I continued. You stole. You forged. You sold my car, drained my accounts, and threw a party in my house when I bought, paid for, maintained. You assumed I'd die in that hospital bed, and now you're mad that I didn't. My sister-in-law scoffed, but quietly. Her confidence was thinning. Is that what this is? My brother asked. You trying to humiliate us? I shrugged. No need. You did that yourselves. He stepped forward, too close, eyes narrowed. You're not going to ruin everything over a few dollars and a misunderstanding. I finally looked up and met his gaze. You used my ICU stay to stage a full financial coup. Don't be dramatic, my mother hissed. You rerouted my mail, I said calmly. You changed my billing address. You emptied my emergency savings and sold my car to someone named Kevin on Facebook Marketplace. You listed me as inactive tenant on my own mortgage paperwork. I had to, she started. You had a choice, I cut in. You all did. And you made it. My hands were steady. That's what surprised me most. Not the confrontation. Not their horror. But how still I felt inside. Like a pond finally cleared after a storm. You don't understand how scared we were. My mother tried again. We thought we lost you. And your first instinct, I said, was to loot the place? She froze. I needed a room, my sister-in-law blurted, suddenly defensive. I'm pregnant. We thought you'd, not come back. There it was. Raw. Unfiltered. The expectation I would fade out of the picture and make room for the new star. Well, I said, you can have the room. You just can't have the house. They all looked up. I've spoken to a lawyer. The property's mine, legally, solely, irrevocably. You're not listed anywhere. And effective tomorrow, I've filed for eviction. You're kicking us out? My brother asked, incredulous. I'm removing trespassers, I said. Which is what you are. Where are we supposed to go? My sister-in-law asked, voice cracking for the first time. That's not my problem. You always help, my mother said, voice trembling. You always fix it. That's over, I replied. You're looking at the last day I ever clean up after you. They didn't cry. Not yet. But the panic was setting in, not because they felt guilt, but because their supply chain was collapsing. You don't mean this, my mother said. We're family. I gave her a look she hadn't seen from me in years. You stopped being my family the moment you drank champagne in my kitchen and hoped I'd never wake up. I turned to leave. My brother made a move, something fast and unsure. I didn't flinch. Just stared. Then I spoke, quieter now. You thought you won. That I wouldn't survive. That even if I did, I'd come back broken. Grateful. Obedient. I stepped toward the door. You were half right. I did come back broken, hand on the doorknob. But I put myself back together without you. And then I left. No slamming doors. No shouting. Just the final click of the lock behind me and silence. The kind of silence that only happens after an explosion. They didn't pack up quietly. The day the eviction notice went up, my brother punched a hole in the hallway drywall. My mother screamed so loud the neighbors called security. My sister-in-law locked herself in the bathroom for 2 hours, crying about the baby. As if that baby hadn't been part of the lie. I didn't go back to the house. I just waited for the legal process to do what I never had the courage to do myself, remove them. 12 days. That's how long it took. On the 13th, they were out. I arrived the next morning with a locksmith and a crowbar. They hadn't cleaned. Pizza boxes, empty wine bottles, a full ashtray in the sink. The carpet was stained. My bed frame broken. My childhood photo albums? Gone. Probably trashed, maybe burned. All that remained was a handwritten note on the fridge in Sharpie. You chose this. No name. No apology. Just that sentence, like a curse. I stood in the wreckage for hours. No music. No lights. Just the groan of wood under my feet and the quiet, steady understanding that this place would never be mine again. So I sold it. Fast. Cheap. Cash buyer. The realtor asked why I was letting it go under value. I said, because it's haunted. He laughed. I didn't. I left the house with one suitcase and a 2004 Corolla Kevin helped me recover. Everything else, memories, furniture, the weight of obligation, I left behind. And I disappeared. I moved 3 states away. Picked a town where no one knew my name. No forwarding address. No clues. No paper trail. Started over. Tiny apartment above a bakery. The smell of bread in the mornings. A mattress on the floor. 2 cups, 2 plates, 1 frying pan. I made eggs and toast and never once had to wonder if someone else had touched my food. That was luxury. I got a job shelving books at a library no one visited. They paid me in cash. I said little. Worked hard. I was tired of being the narrator in everyone else's story. Weeks passed. Then a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo of a baby I didn't recognize. A note scribbled on the back. You'll regret missing this. I burned it. Not out of anger, out of clarity. That child deserved love, but not if it came through guilt. Then came the real twist. One afternoon, Joy, my neighbor below, bakery owner, early 50s and sharp as a blade, called me over. Said someone was outside asking questions. Said he looked family. I froze. I walked out back, heart steady but ready. And there he was. Uncle Mark. The black sheep. The one who vanished a decade ago after refusing to co-sign a loan for my dad. Didn't expect to find you, he said, lighting a cigarette. But your mom's been asking around. I said nothing. He exhaled. She's broke. Your brother's facing charges, identity theft. Guess whose name he used this time? I stayed silent. Uncle Mark flicked the ash, looked me dead in the eye. They're unraveling. It's slow, but it's happening. Your mother called me last week and said, and I quote, he poisoned the family. I smiled. She's not wrong, I said. Sometimes poison is just a cure you didn't recognize. He laughed, dry, deep. Well, she wants you to know she's not done fighting. She never was, I replied. Are you? I looked at him. Really looked. No. I'm just finally choosing my side. He nodded. Good. You were always too soft. Not anymore. He left me a burner phone and said, use it if you need to warn someone. Because they're desperate. And desperate people make noise. I kept the phone. Never used it. 2 weeks later, I saw the story. Local news headline. Family accused of financial exploitation. Mugshots blurred for privacy. But I knew the faces. Knew the crimes. And knew the bank that tipped them off, the same one I gave every document to. I sat in the dark that night. No celebration. No glee. Just breath. Inhale, relief. Exhale, closure. The text came next. From unknown numbers. We didn't mean to. It was just money. We were scared. You ruined us. I blocked them one by one. Then I got a voicemail. From a new number. It was my sister-in-law. Whispering, voice cracked. He's gone. He ran. And they're looking at me now. I have no one left. I hope this was worth it. I didn't respond. But in that moment, I realized they still thought this was about revenge. It wasn't. It was about weight. And mine had finally been set down. It started with a knock on the door. Soft. Hesitant. too polite to belong to anyone from my past, and yet, I froze. I opened it slowly. Kevin stood there, holding a toddler on his hip. The baby. My niece. Her hair was longer now, curling at the ends like my sister-in-law's. But her eyes, they were mine. He didn't say hello. Just, we need to talk. I let him in. We sat at my kitchen table. He poured water. I waited. She's legally yours, he said. I blinked. What? He handed me a document. State issued. Temporary guardianship. With my name at the bottom. I didn't sign this. He met my eyes. I know. Your mother did. Using your old signature from a loan application I found in your mailbox. I stared at the paper. Cold rage crawled through my chest. They thought if they made it official, you'd have to return. That the guilt would bind you. That you'd save the child, and in doing so, save them. And you? I asked. I took her the moment I found out. I couldn't watch another generation raised like that. I breathed once. Twice. You could have walked away. He shrugged. So could you. The baby stirred. I reached out instinctively. She didn't flinch. She doesn't know yet, he said. But one day she will. The names. The stories. The fire. I stood and began pacing. Why come here now? Because your mother is very sick. I froze in place. Kevin continued. She chose not to go through treatment. Says she feels like a part of her is already gone, that losing you is too much. My stomach dropped. That's not fair. No, he said. But she believes it. And she's rewriting everything around it. And my brother? Gone. Rumors say he's in Paraguay. Changed his name. Left your sister-in-law behind. And her. Hospitalized. Overwhelming stress reaction. 6 weeks now. She's not getting out soon. I sat down. The baby reached for my hand. She doesn't cry much, Kevin said. Just stares at doors like she's waiting. I looked at her, really looked, and saw it. She wasn't waiting for them. She was watching me. That night, I opened the storage box. Pulled out the envelope I'd once addressed to her. I rewrote it. New ink. New tone. No explanations. Just one truth. You are not responsible for their fire. You are only responsible for what you choose to grow from the ash. Then I wrote another. To my mother. It was short. You broke everything and still expected me to fix it. But even if you die believing I abandoned you, I will live knowing I finally saved myself. I didn't send it. Just tucked it into her old mug, the one she left behind when they looted the kitchen. Then I drove. To the hospital. Walked past security. Past the nurses. Found her room. She looked small. Shrunken. Not fierce, just finished. She opened her eyes. Smiled weakly. I knew you'd come. I didn't answer. I kept the room, she whispered. The one with the blue walls. For the baby. I thought. Maybe you'd forgive us if she was safe. I sat. Safe. I asked. You think she's better off with strangers? She's better off, I said. Because they're not you. She flinched. Coughed. Wiped her lips. I just wanted us whole again. You never wanted us whole, I said quietly. You wanted me broken and useful. Tears welled in her eyes. You sound just like your father. No, I said. I sound like someone who finally stopped apologizing. I stood. You'll never see her again. She's mine too. No, I said, walking away. She's no one's property. And she'll never carry our shame. Weeks passed. The court finalized guardianship, officially mine, transferred from Kevin. He didn't fight it. He just said, make her laugh, often, and handed me a tiny backpack with a stuffed duck. We moved. Different state. New names. I told no one. But she began talking. Not much. A few words. Then, one day, we were in a park. She pointed to a tree. That's where you found me. No, I said. That's where we started. She smiled. Her first real one. And in that moment, I knew. They thought they cursed me with their fire. But all they did was light the match. And I built something better from it. Something free.